Thursday morning, time to talk politics. Of course, we saw the David Bisard verdicts come in the other day. What will be the ramifications of that?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to recognize that Prosecutor Terry Curry did a great job here all along the process. The prior prosecutor decided that he couldn't file charges based upon the blood. This prosecutor ran saying, I'm going to do this. He did it, and he got a conviction. That's real leadership on Terry Curry's part.
I think the other thing you'll see is major changes continuing to happen within IMPD. Public Safety Director Troy Riggs, Chief Hyde, to make sure that these types of things don't happen. One of which is if an officer is caught doing bad behavior, he actually cannot be fired by the department. He can stay on the payroll, or at least stay on staff. And I think those are some of the continuing changes that we'll see following the David Bisard trial.
And around the country, we saw sort of a tide change in the national elections. A lot of the Tea Party folks that ran around the country lost. Is that what's going to happen in 2014, or is this just something that happened?
This is 2013. You can't really extrapolate anymore because politics changes so quickly, but I do think it was a refutation of the Tea Party movement. They didn't win anywhere. And it's also a victory for the people of Virginia because they're going to expand Medicaid under Terry McAuliffe, unlike Indiana.
And in Virginia, the Democrat went over the Republican, just to point that out.
I think what it shows is that Chris Christie's victory shows that Republicans who are practical,
he won everybody.
Who can get, exactly, won Latinos, won a significant portion of the African-American vote. He won in a blue, women in a blue state. Republicans can win, and that's the model for the future of the Republican Party.
Exit polls showed that Hillary would beat the heck out of him, though, in a presidential race.
Last 5 seconds?
Well, everybody looks good on paper until they actually have to show up in person.
They are the best in the business.
That's true. Even you.
And Abdul, Hakim, Shabazz, wow, with IndyPolitics.org. You can watch us every Sunday at our new time at 7:30 in the morning on Indianapolis This Week. Our conversation continues on theindychannel.com. I want to talk about the issue of a possibility that when I heard Chris Christie speak last night, it sounded more like he was saying, you know what, I may be running for president in 2016.
Well, there's a lot of I, me to Chris Christie. He is, in my opinion, if the Republicans are going to be successful, he's the model. I don't know that he's the actual vessel, but I do think he's the model. I do think that in the future, if the Tea Party continues to push the Republican Party to these idiotic positions that they've taken over the course of the last 12 months, actually the last 4 or 5 years, but specifically the government shutdown and defaulting on our debt. There was a backlash in Virginia on it. Our candidate in Virginia was not very good, Democratic candidate. The candidate for the Republicans was seen as a Tea Party candidate and went down to defeat. So it was really, in Virginia, two bad candidates. In New Jersey, Chris Christie really had the ground to himself. The Democratic rival there.
And his response to the hurricane Sandy really did happen.
Yeah, without a doubt. And that once again goes back to show, I know this is the model for Republicans to win. I mean, anybody can, my analogy is a primary, anybody can win a primary challenge. I mean, that's relatively easy. But you have to have somebody who can win a general election. And for Chris Christie to walk away with 60%, of the votes in a blue state that Barack Obama won handedly, both times, and actually I don't think a Republican's been elected since like 1985 in New Jersey, shows that this is the model to win. And the Rand Pauls, the Ted Cruz's, and all that insanity needs to go by the wayside because the number one goal, what is it? Winning ain't everything. It's the only thing.
But is it the problem because we saw with Mitt Romney, he won in a blue state, Massachusetts, but then when it came to the national election, he had to sort of shift over to the extreme side. So does the party have to find that moderate Republican, and can a moderate Republican pick up?
Well, I think
Iowa,
they have to be. They have to be.
Alabama and those other states.
I think they have to be the loyal opposition, and that's not what they've been. They've been sort of reactionary opposition. They need to be loyal opposition. And what I mean by that is they have to come with concrete proposals that say, okay, we don't like Obamacare. Here's a better way, and take it to the American people and say, pick our way over their way. But instead, all they've done have been obstructionists and trying to shut down government because fundamentally, 20%, 30% of their base doesn't like government, wants to shut it down, and doesn't want anything.
Are you giving advice to national Republicans or Indiana Democrats?
What do you mean? I don't.
Because basically, I think the national Republicans are basically acting the way Indiana Democrats do. Because over Mike Pence, you guys haven't offered any alternatives.
That's completely untrue.
Any real plan for growth and change. So I think it's an interesting parallel between
Scott Pelath and Tim Lannon every week has said, "Here's what we need to do. Here's what we need to do." They've outlined everything. You're just not telling the truth on that.
No, No,
Yes, they absolutely have.
Give me
We need to be focusing. We need to be focused on jobs. We need to be focused on social issues.
Which
No,
the
he's
governor
not.
is focusing on jobs.
What has he done?
Provided the biggest tax cut in Indiana history.
That's not focusing on jobs.
To put more money in the hands of businesses, to put more money in the hands of individuals. So
Yeah,
that's how you jumpstart this economy.
Really? We tried that for a decade under Mitch Daniels, and we went backwards.
So can a moderate Republican like Chris Christie...
Oh, we started talking about...
No, but I'm just saying, if that is the sort of the formula for success for that party, the party that Kip does not want to support and to win the White House, can a Chris Christie really win in Iowa, Texas, Alabama, and Georgia, or South Carolina?
The only way he's going to win currently in the Republican Party is if there's enough Tea Party conservatives in it with him that they divide the vote up. That's the only way.
It's basically it's do what Mitt Romney did, yeah. But at the same, but be consistent, be who you are. And I will argue part of the reason why Mitt Romney lost is by doing such a massive shift to the right. Do what you did that helped you win in Massachusetts. The race was yours to lose, and you lost by just not being true to yourself.
Back on the local front, the entire David Bisard guilty verdicts, all guilty on all 9 criminal charges. Will we see some changes from the police department? Will they have to do more? I mean, they've pretty been beat down by the whole Bisard incident. Will we see changes?
Well, part of the problem, I think, we need to turn the clock back a little bit. Frank Straub was one of the major problems with the Bisard case. From the beginning to the end of the day he left, he was one of the big problems with the Bisard case. From the very beginning, saying he didn't see any evidence of alcohol, would have tainted the jury if that had been admitted into evidence. But in addition, demoting 3 of his lieutenants for going to a meeting that he had told them to come to. The whole incident really. The 2 bad actors, one Bisard and the other one was Frank Straub.
Well, one isn't here anymore. The other one's probably going to go to prison for about 26 years. I think you will see changes. I had a conversation on the evening radio program this week with Public Safety Director Troy Riggs. One of the things he's going to do is take sort of that zero tolerance policy that they have for IMPD and expand it to all of public safety, because it's not just police, also fire, animal care control, homeland security, and also they want to change the rules for how officers can be disciplined. If an officer is caught driving drunk, although they can be suspended, they're still on IMPD's rolls. And what the public safety director wants to do is be able to fire that officer, for just cause, so people are protected, and then they can come back and they can appeal, because those type of people don't have a role, providing public safety and harming the good name of the other thousands of officers that are on the force.
A topic that we'll pick up this Sunday on Indianapolis This Week at 7:30 in the morning. Of course, Democrat Kip 2 and Abdul Hakim Shabazz with IndyPolitics.org. You can catch him on WIBC.
Weeknights at 6 o'clock.
That's a new time slot, right?
And I'm going to be on with him tonight.
He'll be on.
We'll argue
Duke it
tonight.
out.
6:30.
I mean, what more do you want? Thank you for watching the IndyChannel.com.